A little girl whispered, "Can you be my dad?" The single father broke down in tears. Rain fell gently over the small town as Ethan Walker hurried across the parking lot, one hand holding an umbrella and the other carrying his 5-year-old son, Noah. Life had never been easy since Ethan's wife passed away 3 years earlier. Every morning began before sunrise. He cooked breakfast, packed lunch, dropped Noah at kindergarten, worked 10 exhausting hours as a mechanic, and somehow still found the strength to read bedtime stories every night. He smiled for his son, but behind every smile was a heart carrying unbearable loneliness. If you believe kindness and second chances can change lives, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with someone who needs hope today. That rainy afternoon, Ethan stopped at a small grocery store after work. Noah happily pushed a tiny shopping cart while Ethan searched for the cheapest groceries he could afford. Money had become painfully tight. Every dollar mattered. As they reached the cereal aisle, Ethan heard a tiny voice. "Daddy." He turned around instinctively, but the voice hadn't come from Noah. A little girl, no older than 6, stood a few feet away wearing a faded yellow dress. Her brown hair was wet from the rain, and she clutched a worn-out teddy bear against her chest. For a brief second, her hopeful eyes locked onto Ethan's. Then she realized her mistake. "I'm sorry," she whispered softly. "I thought you were my daddy." Her words struck Ethan's heart like lightning. Before he could respond, a young woman rushed toward the child. "Emily, I told you not to run away." The exhausted woman apologized quickly. "I'm so sorry." She's been hoping she'll see her father again. Ethan simply nodded. "It's okay." The woman smiled weakly before taking Emily's hand and disappearing into another aisle. But Ethan couldn't forget the little girl's face. Neither could Noah. "Dad," Noah asked quietly as they drove home, "why was that girl crying?" Ethan tightened his grip on the steering wheel. Sometimes people miss someone they love very much. Noah looked out the window without saying another word. That night, after Noah had fallen asleep, Ethan couldn't stop thinking about Emily's sad eyes. He knew exactly what it felt like to lose someone important. The next Saturday, Ethan took Noah to the community park. As Noah played on the swings, Ethan noticed a familiar teddy bear. Emily. She sat alone on a bench while her mother stared silently at unpaid bills spread across her lap. No laughter. No smiles. Only exhaustion. After a few minutes, Noah walked over to Emily. "Do you want to play?" Emily hesitated. Then she nodded. Soon the two children were laughing together, pretending the playground was a pirate ship sailing across the ocean. For the first time, Ethan saw Emily smile. Her mother noticed too. "I'm Sarah," she said quietly. "Ethan." They shook hands. Neither spoke for several moments. Finally Sarah sighed. "My husband left 2 years ago. No calls. No letters. Nothing." Ethan understood without needing more explanation. "My wife died." Sarah's eyes softened. "I'm sorry." "So am I." It was a conversation built from shared pain rather than words. Over the following weeks, they kept meeting at the park. The children became inseparable. Emily laughed more. Noah smiled more. Even Ethan found himself looking forward to Saturdays. One afternoon, while the children chased butterflies, Sarah admitted something. "I work 2 jobs. You must be exhausted." "I am." She laughed weakly. "But Emily deserves better." Ethan looked toward the playground. So does Noah. That evening, Ethan returned home feeling something unfamiliar. Hope. For the first time in years, the house didn't seem so empty. Weeks passed. One rainy afternoon, Sarah never arrived at the park. Neither did Emily. The following Saturday, they were absent again. Ethan became worried. Noah asked every day, "Where's Emily?" "I don't know, buddy." Finally, Ethan drove to the apartment complex Sarah had once mentioned. His heart sank. The apartment was empty. A landlord loading furniture into a truck glanced at him. "They couldn't pay rent. Do you know where they went?" The man shrugged. "No idea." Ethan stood silently in the rain. Noah looked up at him. "Will we ever see Emily again?" Ethan wanted to say yes. Instead, he whispered, "I hope so." That night he couldn't sleep. He kept remembering the little girl's smile, and how quickly it had disappeared. Somewhere in the city, a mother and daughter were struggling alone. He just didn't know where. Little did Ethan realize that fate wasn't finished with their story. In only a few days, one unexpected phone call would force him to make the biggest decision of his life: a decision that could either heal 4 broken hearts or shatter them forever. The phone rang just after 6 on a cold Monday morning. Ethan almost ignored it, thinking it was another customer from the garage calling before business hours. But when he answered, a calm female voice introduced herself as a social worker from the local community center. "Mr. Walker, I believe you know a woman named Sarah and her daughter Emily." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. "Yes. Are they okay?" There was a brief silence. "They're safe, but Sarah collapsed from exhaustion while working a night shift. Emily remembered only your first name and that you came to the park with your son. It took us several days to find you." Without another question, Ethan asked for the address. An hour later, he and Noah walked into the small hospital room. Emily sat quietly beside her mother's bed, hugging the same old teddy bear. The moment she saw Noah, her face lit up for the first time in weeks. She ran toward him, wrapping her arms around him tightly. Noah hugged her back as if they had never been apart. Then Emily looked at Ethan. "I knew you'd come." Those 4 simple words filled the room with emotion. Sarah slowly opened her eyes. Embarrassment covered her face. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I never wanted anyone to see us like this." Ethan gently shook his head. "You don't have to apologize for needing help." Tears rolled down Sarah's cheeks. For so long, she had carried every burden alone that she had forgotten what kindness felt like. Over the next few weeks, Ethan visited every day after work. He brought groceries, helped Emily with homework, and kept Noah company while the children played in the hospital garden. He never acted like a hero. He simply showed up. When Sarah was discharged, she admitted she had nowhere stable to live. The tiny room she had rented had already been given to someone else. Ethan hesitated only for a moment. "I have a spare room," he said softly. "Stay until you're back on your feet." Sarah's eyes widened. "I can't ask that of you. You didn't. You barely know us." Ethan smiled. "Sometimes the people who understand your pain the most are the ones you've known the shortest." A week later, Sarah and Emily moved into Ethan's modest home. The house slowly changed. Morning silence was replaced by children's laughter. The dinner table, once painfully quiet, became filled with conversations about school, funny dreams, and weekend plans. Noah no longer ate breakfast alone. Emily no longer fell asleep wondering if anyone cared. For the first time since losing his wife, Ethan heard happiness echo through the walls of his home. Months passed. Sarah found a steady daytime job at a local bookstore. Ethan continued working at the garage. They helped each other with school pickups, cooking, and bedtime routines. Neighbors began assuming they were already a family. Neither of them corrected anyone. One autumn afternoon, the 4 of them visited the same park where everything had begun. The children ran toward the swings while Ethan and Sarah sat on the old wooden bench. "I used to think my life ended when my husband left," Sarah admitted. "And I thought mine ended when my wife died," Ethan replied. She looked at him. "But somehow, we're still here." Ethan nodded. "And maybe that's enough." Before either of them could say another word, Emily and Noah came running back. Emily took Ethan's hand. Noah took Sarah's. Then Emily smiled shyly. "Can I ask something?" "Of course," Ethan answered. "If, someday, it's okay with everyone." She looked down at the ground. "Could I call you Dad?" The world seemed to stop. Ethan knelt in front of her, tears filling his eyes. "You never have to ask permission to be loved." Emily threw her arms around him, crying harder than she ever had before. Sarah covered her mouth, unable to hold back her own tears. Noah hugged both of them and laughed. "I always wanted a sister." The months that followed were filled with healing instead of heartbreak. On a quiet spring morning, Ethan invited Sarah to the same park one final time. There were no expensive decorations. No crowd. Just blooming flowers, 2 excited children, and a simple silver ring. "I can't erase the pain we've both lived through," Ethan said. "But I'd love to spend the rest of my life making new memories with you." Sarah didn't answer with words. She simply nodded through happy tears. The children cheered before Ethan had even placed the ring on her finger. 1 year later, they officially became a family. The house that had once carried the weight of grief now overflowed with love, laughter, birthday celebrations, bedtime stories, and second chances. Sometimes happiness doesn't arrive the way we expect. Sometimes it begins with a child who mistakes a stranger for her father. If this story touched your heart, share it with someone who still believes that kindness can heal even the deepest wounds. And before you go, leave a comment with the word hope if you believe that family is built by love, not only by blood. Because sometimes, the greatest miracles don't happen overnight, they happen one small act of kindness at a time.